Looking for a fun, different new shirt? Something related to the things you like? Climbing in the outdoors, perhaps philosophy? Visit our new store, The Dihedral Goods, on Etsy, and you'll find all that and much more.
I'm on! Roll! Hello, everyone. This is Carrot, welcoming you to another episode of the Dihedral Podcast. We're joined today by a fellow climber, artist, entrepreneur, and so much more, Britney Berkstresser. Britney is the founder and chief executive artist. I kind of made that up, but I think that applies. And one of the coolest climbing companies out there, Tiny Holds. Her company both starts and ends with love. And to that end, if you ever want to feel good about your life or life in general, you should definitely check out her Instagram page. It's very uplifting. And today, Brittany's agreed to talk to us about all that and more. Brittany, welcome to the show.
Yay, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, I thought we would jump right into it here in the beginning, and just have you explain what Tiny Holds is and how it got started.
Yeah, definitely. So Tiny Hold started after my love for rock climbing really, came into my life, and I really wanted something, to go along with that, and I couldn't find anything. So I made it myself, and it started with one little pair of earrings. And I really used them as a reminder of self love and self care because I noticed how much effort and time I wanted to put into those holds.
Sure.
So I wanted to keep that with me, carry it with me, bring it back into myself, and keep that love for myself as well, not just keep that inside those plastic holds. So that's kind of where Tiny Holds came from.
That's so cool. So it really just started as you with, I'm assuming, a strong background in art, or were you just like, did you learn how to do this on the
Yeah,
go?
I've been an artist my whole life. My parents are very unique. My mom, she cooked everything from scratch, made a lot of our clothes from scratch. Even though I
Yeah.
grew up in Orange County, I kind
Yeah.
of lived this little like backwoods lifestyle, which I really love. My dad could build anything, so as kids, we had to build, fix, and make things ourselves instead of going out to buy them. So everything I always wanted, I would try to make or build first. So tiny holds really fit into that as well.
That's cool. And so you really you found a gap and you're filling that gap. Your stuff is really, really cool. And so I don't want you to give away any trade secrets or anything like that, but what goes into making these tiny holds? I guess before we even do that, let me kind of state it, but then I hope that you'll be able to jump in a little bit. Tiny holds are exactly what they sound like. These are like teensy tiny, teeny climbing holds that you can, like Brittany said, I think you have earrings. I know I have one of the zipper pulls. They're just so cool and so cute. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but also I'd love to know again, like how do you make them? They're so small.
Yeah, definitely. Well, honestly, the shapes, they really come out of my head. I am a very kind of magical, fantasy driven nature person. And I just kind of see everything in like a magical light. So to me, those holds are real holds. Like I see them on the wall. They're not
Yeah.
real holds, but that's what they just kind of come out of my head after I'm climbing and I sit down and I just throw a piece of clay down and I just go for it. So I don't know if I was born to make these or what, but
Yeah.
they do just come out of my head. And I'm also like half dirt bag. So
I
these
can relate to that so much.
right? So it's like everything had to be durable, everything had to, last, everything had to be strong. So I spent a lot of time testing these little things too, making sure that they could survive the van life, they could survive your gym life, they could survive your trip. So a lot has gone into that. And every day it still goes into that. And I love that too.
That's, I mean, that's so, they're just so cute. I love them. But you mentioned something is that you have this background in the outdoors, or at least this visualization of outdoors. Where do you think that came from?
As a child, I spent a lot of time outdoors. So my whole life, I've been going outdoors with my family and my parents. And my mom also has just like an amazing imagination too. Like when we were kids, like, oh, did you see the fairies? Or my dad, like, oh, did you
Oh,
see that jackalope? Like I thought jackalopes were real until I was like 18.
that's so funny.
So it's just like stuff that goes along with that. Like I just have always carried this like really heavy like sense of imagination and like Just also with I've struggled with a lot of illness as well. I've had to imagine myself doing things for comfort and joy as well too.
Oh
So
wow,
that
that's a
kind of
great
goes along with that too.
man. That's a great idea. I mean that's amazing. I want to talk a little bit about that in a second. But just one more thing about the holds. What kind of holds do you offer? I know that I just saw that you released glow in the dark skull holds, which I think were a special order if I interpret it correctly. But do you have everything from like jugs and pinches, or is there?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I don't really know what they are. It's like your imagination tells you what they are. So it's
Yeah,
like I do have specific ones where I'm like, oh, that's a tiny jug. Oh, that's a pinch.
yeah,
But I
right.
love it when someone comes up to my booth and they're looking at the merchandise and they're like, oh, this looks just like that jug that I was using on my first climb when I finished that V5. And I love that.
Yeah, that's true. I thought the same thing. There's a couple holds that I've seen that you made. They look really similar to like the style that Metolius uses, where there's more than one color in the hold themselves. And I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. It's just like
Yeah,
it's just
like
so sweet. It's like a tiny
the
version of that.
swirled ones. Yeah, and I kind of like that I wasn't even climbing then, but I know back earlier in the climbing days, a lot of the holds were those swirled colors too. So I like to bring that back. A lot of people recognize that
I
who are like
love it.
old school climbers.
It's a
So I
throwback
think
for
that's
sure.
fun.
Um, has any of the hold companies reached out to you yet?
I've interacted with a lot of them and do a lot of reposting and stuff like that. And I've done a lot of just little things here and there with people who work within the company, but not something gigantic quite yet. We're
Uh,
still staying tiny.
Uh, that's perfect. I could see it though, like with the holds that you're making, and just the way that you have the ability to like envision the world, like you said, like with your imagination and then combining. Like people who make holds, they really are doing that on an interesting level that they're combining something we do outside and applying it to inside. That's what you're doing on a smaller level. I think you'd make the most spectacular holds for Jim. So I don't know if like one of the big
Thank you.
hold companies is listening, and I don't know if you would have time to even work with them. But if you're listening, please reach out to Brittany. We want to climb her stuff, right?
Right? I know I have a lot of people are like, "Oh, I really actually want to climb this route you made me." And I'm like,
I
"I wish,
agree. Oh,
one day."
so I'm not just trying to like plug your stuff, but it is really cool. Like you have magnets, so like we can set our own routes
Right?
out of your holds. It's so sweet.
Exactly. Yeah. So along with the like different holds too, it's like, I try to make like a wood looking hold and I just use the different colors of clay and combine them and, mesh them and meld them so they look like wood, but it's still that clay. But it looks like those old school classic wood holds too.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
So let me switch into something maybe a little bit more serious or not. So you're not shy about mentioning that you have Lyme disease, and I know a lot of us. It's not like the most common thing that happens to people to the point that it's even very difficult for doctors to sometimes notice in certain things. And I'm wondering if you could tell us at the very least to inform us about what that is and maybe some of the effects that it has, and especially if you're able to talk about how you live with that day to day and overcome some of the like serious issues that has with it.
Yeah, definitely. Lyme disease is a huge part of my life. I've actually been battling it now, I realized, for over 20 years. So 11 of those years I went undiagnosed.
Oh,
So I
wow.
went about 11 or I think 10 or 11 years where I didn't feel well. People were like, oh, you're working too much, you're doing too much, you're crazy. Nothing's wrong with you. And
Right.
inside, I felt like I was dying. My parents were believing me, but we couldn't find a doctor to help me. And then I finally got to this point, was like, okay, maybe I am doing too much. This is my life. I'm just going to feel like this. No one's going to help me. And I woke up one morning with just extreme pain. I couldn't move my legs. My legs were paralyzed. I was yelling for my sister because I was living with her at the time. I didn't
Yeah.
know what to do. And at that point on, I went, oh, maybe about a year still not being diagnosed with anything. So it was still just riddling my body. And then I kind of went through a couple doctors, and then my sister found a natural medicine doctor for me who set me on the right track really helped me in every direction. And I started getting better. And so I had this disease that really took everything away from me for, over 10 to 12 years. And to try and to heal that, I basically started like a new life at that point.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Like, I mean, we could go in a lot of different directions, but being undiagnosed with something for 10 years, that must have done like really horrible things
Oh
to your
God, yes.
perception of humanity. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I was
you
gonna say
know
that
when you're
was
not feeling right. I can imagine. So what do you do in terms of trusting like medicine or doctors and things like that to be overlooked for that long? I mean, not to blame anybody in
definitely.
particular, but that's got to be unimaginably frustrating.
Oh God, yes. I mean, I would be in a wheelchair leaving an office and someone would tell me, there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, why can't I move my legs?
Yeah, right.
And it's like, it's all of a sudden like people start looking at you like, okay, is this girl acting? It's like, no, she's not,
Yeah.
And so then you finally, it's like or I can't say you, it's like I hit this place where I met someone who literally put me in every single direction of people who actually wanted to help instead of the people who didn't want to help. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful that I found those people. And for anyone out there who is struggling with something like that, I would love to help set them in the right direction as well, because it was just a living nightmare.
Yeah, it's one thing to suffer in pain, but it's another just to be ignored or maybe at least feel ignored and things like that. Um, I'm not even remotely close to being an expert on this, but is it true that Lyme disease comes from ticks? Is that
Yes,
accurate?
and through what I've researched, I mean, I grew up in Orange County, but I'm also an avid outdoor person,
Hmm.
hiking, fishing, everything you can think of. And so it's like people are like, "You grew up in Orange County." It's like, yeah, I did, but I still got it.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, I don't remember ever pulling a tick off me. I don't remember ever having a bullseye rash. I've researched a lot. They do say that it can be contracted through any type of um, bloodborne, so like
Okay.
horse flies, even
Oh, yeah.
mosquitoes, anything that can bite you, basically, they have found that can transfer that. So it is a really serious thing that a lot of people don't talk about.
And can we talk a little bit about the prognosis? I know you mentioned you hooked up
Yeah.
with what was like a holistic doctor or something like this.
Yeah, I did find a holistic doctor who did treat me partially with antibiotics because I was
Mhm.
so far gone. And I realized, like, I was like, I don't want to do antibiotics, like me being supernatural. But he had explained to me, like, this is what antibiotics are for. You're dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
All right, we'll make an exception.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started on that and we would kind of go off and on. He would do like whole body healing. So it was like I was basically killing everything inside me and then regenerating everything with food and diet. So eliminating all the good things like sugar, dairy, and gluten and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Really strict with diet, a lot of alternative like vitamin IVs, supplements, and I did something called ozone therapy, which is basically oxygenate, puts ozone into your bloodstream.
Okay.
And that was really life changing for me.
Amazing. And do you have to do that on a regular basis, or was it kind of just like I could
I
do it? And
haven't been have to do it in a really long time.
great. Knock on wood. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. So I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty much managing with food and supplements now at this time in my life. I do have some really hard days, some really hard weeks, even months.
Oh, wow.
Last year, I think was really difficult. I wasn't really perfect with my food, to be honest, and I was
Hmm.
really realizing that. I'm like, okay, I was slipping some gluten here and there.
Yeah.
As silly as that may sound, but it's like staying with the food and the diet and everything. It can be really hard.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's trying to stay healthy. I always tell people that's actually the hardest thing on earth is to stay healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, there's a lot of new options, I guess. I wouldn't say they're new, but I
Mhm.
imagine you living with this for so long, you have to have some treats that you're like, all right, this is it's a healthy treat, but it's still something that I'm just like, this is delicious, like gluten free.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
can we run through some of your favorite snacks?
Oh yeah.
I get excited. You see me scooting
I
up. I
was
love
gonna
talking about food.
Yeah, no worries. I was gonna say I'm a total like fruit leather girl.
Hmm. Love it.
Those are definitely a good gluten-free snack. Trader Joe's actually has a ton of gluten-free stuff now that makes me really excited. So that's always good. They have lots of little things, but a lot of stuff I do have to kind of create myself too, because after experiencing illness and my body being so riddled, I'm really sensitive and allergic to a lot of things as well too.
Oh, wow.
So it's like it brought in like now I'm sensitive to oil.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
all the things you think you're are okay with that are hypoallergenic, like coconut and sweet potato and peppers and like all those things. Like I can't have any of those.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm always piecing together lots of things, and I focus a lot on herbal teas and
Yeah.
using those as supplements.
That's great.
Yeah, like dates and stuff like that, like things that have dates inside of them, and like nut butters work well for me. So
Yeah.
just really, really healthy, pure, like limited ingredient items.
Yeah. I'm just spitball. Let me know if this is something that is a possible thing. Like, let's say somebody's like, I made a, fake cheesecake with a date crust and like almond butter and chia seed filling. Is that something that you could eat?
That sounds amazing. Yes, as long as it didn't have any oats in
All right, no
it.
oats. All right, it does sound amazing. I kind of want to eat it. So if you, I know you're busy. If you ever get like caught up on time, maybe that's like a second career where you're just like designing awesome treats for people with a limited
Right.
diet.
And I
Um,
am very spoiled in that department because my sister is a hardcore baker, but she does everything
amazing.
like vegan, gluten-free, raw. Like, so I got really spoiled there for a while.
Oh my God, that's so cool. It's you and your sister. I mean, you're obviously close. Is she still
Yeah.
like close in proximity? Or,
She
or,
moved a couple years ago and she's up in Big Sur. So that's
wh
just beautiful to go visit her up there
where is she?
in Big Sur.
Where's Bixer?
Like Carmel, so like Northern California,
Oh wow. Okay,
like right there. Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So, um, I guess one more thing that I think if you, I mean, everybody's different and everybody has different experiences, and you alluded to this a little bit, but how do you deal with like the emotional side of, like you said, a month of suffering, or even a day or a week of suffering? I mean, it's hard to suffer. It's just not easy, and sometimes suffering physically can put people in a state of mind that is hard to function with. And so, do you have any tips or tricks that are at least helpful for you that might be helpful for other people?
Yeah, definitely. I really focus on meditation and deep breathing. That's something that's really helped me release pain, kind of come
Hmm.
back, I want to say to myself, because sometimes I wake up and I feel like I got in a car accident the night before, and I'm like, I did nothing yesterday.
Yeah,
Or it's like I drank a six pack of beer and I don't drink, like it's
right.
like I feel like I have a hangover and I got hit by a car sometimes. And so it's like I really have to just kind of breathe and like come back into myself and be like, okay, you're okay. Like you're going to be okay today. We're going to get rid of all this pain. Really focusing on meditation, not thinking about those parts of my body, honestly, trying to
Yeah,
just really release that, light yoga in the morning to stretching. All of those things are really important for me to kind of mentally make it through my day without, if I'm having a rough day in the morning with a pain or inflammation, all of
yeah.
those things like really help. And tea, of course.
Obviously, tea. Yeah, that's such good advice. Yeah, the way that yoga and meditating makes me, I don't do it enough, but every time I do it, it's something you have to do. Like as you know, it's something you have to plan on doing, but it feels great. And every time I'm too busy to do it. I regret it. Like it's got to be a way to fit it in. But I think that's really, really good advice.
Totally. Yeah. I think sometimes like I've seen a friend or like a partner, like shoot out of bed and like start the day. I'm like, whoa, let's like take a
Yeah,
second.
what are you doing? That's not how you do it.
I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, I gotta, come back here, like make myself settled in and like get myself ready to go, like tell myself I'm gonna do this. Like I have to do this. I have to get up every day. I have to keep going. So
Yeah. It's I mentioned this in the beginning, and I mean, just talking with you, you can see it. You really you talk about how you do start with love, and you come from this place of love. I'm wondering if you can talk really two things, like what does that mean, and where did that come from?
yeah, I feel like I'm full of so much love. Like I've also met like a ton of people who are like, whoa, your heart's like bigger than you. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's been really hard too. I give away too much love sometimes, you can give
Yeah,
away too much. But also like I see so much love in everything. And I think a lot of times we're just so busy that we run past all these things and like don't notice how good they make us actually feel. And it's
yeah,
always like the tiny things.
that's so cute.
So it's like that's like everything to me has been like tiny related because it's like, oh, that little tiny flower I saw when I was having
Yeah,
a bad day that was coming out of like the cement because I couldn't get out in nature, that
yeah,
like actually made my day and that made me full of love. And now I can share that with others too. And it's like, I just feel like we don't send out into the universe enough as well either. We just kind of
yeah,
bottle up, we keep everything inside and then it's like, of course, there's moments where everyone's sharing love, but we're trying to go about our days like so quickly and like everything's stressful. And then it's like, okay, let's pause for a second. Let's notice something beautiful around us. Oh, hey, that made me so happy. I'm full of love
yeah.
now.
And have you been like this since you were little, or is this something that you've discovered on your journey?
I think it's something I have had with me my whole life. But to be honest, as a younger child, I came into this world almost like really like depressed in a way. I had a really hard time kind of I was very different with all of my nature stuff and like growing up in Orange County, didn't have a lot of friends that did the same things.
Right.
And so I found a lot of love in other like inanimate objects and like nature and surroundings around me. And as adult, I'm like, hey, everyone else needs to realize like you're never alone and you have so much like
That's
love around
cool.
you and so many things to like care for that this is all love. This is what it is.
It's so nice to hear just like this affirmative and affirming perspective. It's it's easy. It's easy to get caught up in like the shit show that I don't know if
Oh
it
God,
just seems like
yes.
it's going on everywhere. I mean, you maybe not directly, but like you think of the wildfires in California or the flooding in different parts of the country and then like the political landscape. It's really easy to get caught up in like this dark stuff that or at least negative stuff that's going all
Yeah.
around all the time. And so hearing something affirming like that I think is really helpful. And so surely these things are very helpful to all of us noticing little things, but are there any times where you're just like, "Shit, today's not going to be a good day. Like no ladybug or flower is going to like make this day a good day, or are you always able to pull out of it?"
I would say more recently I can pull myself out of it.
Oh,
And
good.
I would say the past like maybe 2 years, I found this really special place where every night I actually if someone's here with me or I'm with a friend or my parents, or even if I'm with myself, I thank myself for all of the good things that happened that day, even if it was one tiny thing.
That's so
Even
cool.
if, yeah, the rest was, if my whole day was a shit show, I came home and I cried on my bed. You know what? I'm going to sit up and tell myself, hey, you know what? That gluten-free cracker, that made your day.
That could do it sometime for that's great. I think you're right, like 100%. Like it kind of goes back to tiny stuff. They're cute and they make us feel good, like puppies and kittens and like little things like that can
Yeah.
sometimes take a bad day or a bad year and just be like, it's not all bad. There's still a lot of really good out there. It just takes some time to look around and teach yourself to notice it, right?
Yeah, to just disconnect from that negative moment. I mean, we all get stuck in these negative moments too. Like even climbing, you're like, God damn it,
Great
I
point.
can't get that next hold. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't reach that. I'm never gonna do that. Or like something like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, just chill. Like look around. There's a climb like right there that you can finish just fine.
That's such a man, such a good point. I wanted to talk a little bit about climbing in particular. You got into climbing as a byproduct of having Lyme disease. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct.
How did that happen?
So I was definitely getting better, and I was starting to move around a little bit more. And my sister had gone climbing at a gym with a friend, and was like, you know what? Like, I think you're really gonna like this. Like, you have good upper body strength because I was dragging myself around my house without my wheelchair because I was
Yeah, right.
determined I was gonna, get this full strength back and start walking again. And so she took me to the gym, and I think I climbed like halfway up a zero, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Sweet.
And I was still like halfway in my wheelchair. I was still really sick, still healing. I couldn't climb all the time. And then that's when I started making tiny holds because I couldn't climb all the time.
Oh, that's so sweet. I really like that. And
Yeah.
so you're in a spot that I think a lot of climbers would love to be in. So I was wondering if I can ask you a couple of questions about the area and just like climbing in the area. So we sometimes travel around intentionally just to visit different climbing gyms and things like that. And Sender One is like one of the gyms that I'm just like, it's so cool looking, and I really want to go, and I've just never been there. And so I was wondering if you would feel comfortable just maybe taking a minute to let listeners know why they're missing out by not going or visiting Sender One. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sender One sucks. So I was wondering if you could give a quick gym review.
You know what? They held such a special place in my heart because I started climbing there. I had my first pop up there. I met a
Oh, you
lot of my
did? Cool.
climbing friends there. It's a really cool gym. They have a amazing vibe. They love to have lots of meetups so people, have people to climb with and they don't feel lonely. The employees there are amazing. Everyone who bring there, they're like, oh my God, everyone here is so nice.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, it's a really unique place for me, and I mean it's a gigantic gym too. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely beautiful. And then with all the different locations, I have to say the Lakewood location is my favorite right now.
All right. So Lakewood's the place to go.
Well, probably because it's brand new, and it was funny because I overheard someone saying, "Oh, it doesn't smell like dirty shoes in here
It
yet."
doesn't, I know. You didn't have to finish that. I could already smell it. I was like, okay, I can.
Right. Yeah, so it's an incredible facility to visit because you have the ropes, you have the kids area, you have the bouldering areas. There's really good vibes there.
And do they also carry gear or food or anything like that?
Yeah, well they have snacks, yeah, general snacks, and they
Yeah.
they do carry some pretty good gear there as well too, yeah.
Okay. And snacks for you, or you're like, I need to bring my own snacks
I
anywhere I
usually
go.
bring my own, but there are some snacks I can eat there.
Oh, that's really nice. All right. So the other thing I wanted to ask is that not only are there cool gyms around you, you're not far from like great outdoor climbing. And so
Yeah.
we have this theme that we do. It's called Craigies and Snackies, where we just like we write about a particular crag and then write about a local place where it would be cool to get something to eat. Now, for you again, like you might be limited in terms of restaurants, but maybe there's a juice bar or a tea house or something you could recommend. So I was wondering if you could let us know like your favorite local outdoor spot to climb, and then a place that you might recommend people go to get nourishment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, oh gosh, I mean, I'm so spoiled. I mean, I live smack dab in the middle of Orange County. I have like every gym around me. I can get to LA really quick, but then I also have Joshua Tree, I have Bishop, I have
Yeah,
Red Rocks, all within, just like not that many hour of a drive.
yeah. I know it's perfect.
Yeah, my definite the outdoor addiction is Bishop. I've spent my whole life there. Not necessarily even climbing, but just running through the forest, fly fishing with my dad, everything. So there we definitely have special spots we go to. Um, Everyone goes to Black Sheep for coffee. That's the
Okay.
climber's coffee spot.
Oh,
But
good to
to be
know. I had no idea.
honest, yeah, Black Sheep is the climber's coffee spot. I actually walk across the street. I have some retail in a place called Elevated Bishop where they sell tea.
Awesome. It's
Where
right.
I'm
Yes.
obsessed with buying tea from there now. They have a local person that makes tea blends there that
Oof.
are amazing, and they're all just like organic herbal ingredients, and they're beautiful.
You're a tea connoisseur.
Oh gosh, yes.
All right. Can you lay us out like what are your top three teas? Like
um,
I mean like not necessarily brand, but flavors or brands, like whatever you want. I love tea, but I am not a connoisseur. Like I'll go to a grocery store and be like, that tea sounds delicious. Like if I'm gonna invest in some tea, what would you recommend?
yeah, for the morning I do like peppermint with like some citrus or lemongrass because that's like a good
Yum.
wake up,
That sounds
and it's
great.
good for your body and digestive
Oh,
system
good to
too.
know. Okay. Peppermint and lemongrass.
Yeah, that's always a
Okay.
good one. And then I have a root beer tea that I'm obsessed with
What?
that I make everyone drink.
Where do we get that from? That sounds awesome.
You know what? I'll actually send you the link. You can buy that one online.
Oh, thank you. I will for
Yeah,
sure.
that
That
one's
sounds so good.
amazing. Iced, it tastes like root beer, and then hot. I know that sounds weird, but hot root beer tastes amazing.
I'm all in on that. That sounds good. I
Yeah.
love it. All right, what else?
And for a third one, I'd have to go down the matcha road. I do
Love
love
it.
matcha.
I
Yeah,
love it. It's not for everybody. I kind of think of matcha kind of like cilantro. I like cilantro a lot, but
me
I
too. I
understand why
love
people
it.
don't like it. I'm like, this is a very distinct flavor. I feel like matcha is the same way. So when people are like, I don't like it, I would never judge them on that, but I get it. I'm just like, this is a very distinct flavor. I love it though. If this is probably who cares really, but you got it in my head, so I gotta say, like matcha flavored stuff to me is great. Like if you give me matcha muffins or whatever, I'm all about it. Perfect. Those three choices they've made my day. And so with a tea like peppermint lemongrass, are you getting that from somebody who's like mixing it themselves, or can you buy that at the store? Or is it just like two different tea bags that you'll mix together?
You know what? I do a lot of mixing myself because I have a ton of loose leaf herbs.
Okay.
So, but I do buy like random blends that I see when I'm traveling. I like to go into like, just like those little mountain town stores, I call them. I like to get a lot of the local stuff, just like random stuff from there. So I found blends like that too. It seems to be kind of a morning wake me up.
I feel like I could be a tea person. I don't know if like I give off a tea vibe, but maybe one day. I mean, you definitely do. I'm
Right?
gonna work on it. The next time we talk, um, hopefully I'll be drinking a cup of tea and you'll be like, oh, you're much more tea than you were before, but I'm inspired
Right?
for sure. Thank you.
That's like tea and beef jerky. That's my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So,
it's like that goes along with the snacks. Like in the Bishop area, there's a place that I've been going to since I was a kid called Mahogany Smoked Meats. I have to get beef jerky there every time.
oh, right. So it's by Bishop.
It's in Bishop, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. So we'll definitely like give a shout out to them too. That's awesome. If I've never climbed I've never climbed there, but if I ever do, I hope like I can reach out to you and like get some beta on where
Oh
to go.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So I thought it would be fun to kind of like close our discussion a little bit with the game that I created. It's a stupid game, so don't get your hopes up, please. But it's something where I name a couple of things and you tell me what your preference would be having that big or having that tiny.
Okay.
Does that sound fun?
Yes, that
No, it
does.
doesn't. It is, but thank you for humoring me. Also, so I made a list of some things. Yeah, you just gotta let me know big or tiny. I mean, it might be too cheesy. It would be kind of cool if I had a button like that could play some game music or something. Or maybe we could do like
Right?
post production on that. So, all right. So the first one I had is big walls in terms of climbing or tiny walls, essentially bouldering.
Oh, I'm a hardcore boulder. I've hardly climbed on a rope, but I am a highball girl,
Oh,
so that's
look at you. So
kind
somewhere in
of
the middle. That's
funny.
a fair answer. High balls
Although,
are so scary. You're so brave.
yeah, I've done some of course I've done all of the larger highballs in like the Bishop and the Tramway area. Those are just like, I don't know, they make me feel good, but at the same time, I'm like, is that like the tiniest boulder here? We have to do that.
that makes sense. I can see like traversing a pebble or something like
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
All right, so this one is also kind of related to climbing. Would you rather big shoes, meaning loose fitting, or tiny shoes, tight fitting?
Ugh. I would say my tiny shoes definitely. Those are my bread and butter sending shoes.
I agree. Most of the time my feet are in pain when I'm climbing. I know some people don't make that. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I tried to actually I was like, you know what? I'm getting a little bit older. I'm gonna give my foot a little bit of a break. Nope, didn't work out.
I know there's something about like being mentally comfortable in your discomfort. There's got to be like a
Exactly,
German
yeah.
word or something for that because that seems like a thing. But that's a great description of uncomfortable shoes. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
All right, so my next one was this is more pop culture, but are you like a big water bottle or a tiny water bottle? And by big, I mean, you see some people like that water bottle is a huge water
Right?
bottle.
You know what's funny? I would say I have like a normal size water bottle right now, but I did an event not too long ago where they were selling the lost and found gym stuff, and I bought two different tiny
Oh, that's cute.
water bottles, and I actually am obsessed with them now. So I'm gonna have to go with the tiny water bottle this time.
How tiny are we talking? Like, I can't, like, when I think tiny, I think of your holds. So, how
Right?
small are these? How small are these water
Well, I
bottles?
think this was an 8 ounce
Okay. Oh,
Nalgene
look at
bottle,
you.
which I was like, do they even make those? This is so cute. I love it.
That's great. All right. I think that's a very good answer. All right. I was thinking sunglasses. You like the big, like, full-on face covering ones or just tiny sunglasses?
Well, my best friend Michelle would say that I turn into an asshole when I put on my big sunglasses because they're pit vipers.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
So we kind of have a joke about that. I do love my big coverage sunglasses though when I'm outside. I'm going to have to say big.
All right, big. That's a good answer. All right. This is just hanging out with your friends. Big night out or tiny night out?
Definitely tiny night out. Me and my friends are pretty mellow.
Okay, yeah, I like that. This is just me, based on a preference of a food I love. Mangoes. Are you big into mangoes or tiny into mangoes?
You know what? I'd have to say big into mangoes. I do love mangoes.
Why are they so good? They're so good.
They're
Is there
so
mango
good.
tea?
You know what? I have seen a mango tea before. I'll have to find you one.
All right, that sounds good. All right, just a couple more. You're driving to the Craig. You want a big car or a tiny car?
You know what? I've realized sometimes I have a cross track, so a Subaru cross track, which is, a tiny SUV
Yeah,
actually. And I have been in situations where I'm absolutely excited to have that tiny vehicle because other people's cars are getting scraped by the brush when they're going down the trail.
yeah, good point. That's
So,
spectacular.
yeah, I'd have to say tiny vehicle because I can do some tiny rock crawling in that thing too, so I'm set.
That's true. I also have a Crosstrek. Like they're great. I love them. It's such a good car.
Yeah, I was gonna say I probably pushed that thing way too far, but hey, that's part of me going outdoors. So
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly. All right, so final one. I think I can predict your answer. Would you say big holds or tiny holds?
definitely tiny holds. I just
Tiny holds all
crimps
the
all the
way.
way.
Exactly. So, now just hopefully we can do some promo stuff. How can people order or find tiny holds, which they should definitely do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can order online anytime. I try to keep the inventory as much as I can. It's so hard since they're like individual little items. I have to photograph each one because
Oh
they're
God,
all
yeah.
hand sculpted. They're very unique. So I try to keep everything online. And if you don't see something on there, you can always just send me a message and you can kind of see I can try and make anything. So a lot of the custom orders are like the skulls or like hearts or like people are like, can you make this? I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
try.
Uh, there was like a puppy print or something like that.
Yeah, I did some paws just because I'm obsessed with dogs, love dogs.
Oh,
So
good.
I had
Yeah.
to bring those onto the trail with me as well too. So
All right. And so, I find your website through. the Instagram, there's a link there, but is it just
Yeah.
tinyholds.com?
Yeah, just tinyholds.com. And then, of course, if you're in, Southern California area, I do have some retail spaces. Or, Bishop, Joshua Tree, and San Diego, I have some stuff there too. And of course, pop-ups. Pop-ups are truly the best way right now.
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to get them more accessible for other people online as well too. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
lots of fun stuff for this year.
It's cool. So let me ask you this. I know we said we'll finish on, but there's a question that popped into my head. So for pop-ups, that's like art fairs and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Essentially. Um, how do you do interacting with the public? Like, there's this really strange connection between somebody who's selling something, and I know some people are just there because it's fun, and people who are browsing, where some people they're not going to buy anything. Like, do you find yourself trying to engage with everybody? Are you trying to sell stuff if they come to your booth, for example, or are you just like trying to learn about people in different scenarios? Like, how does that interaction go from the artist side?
Yeah, at first it was a little overwhelming for me. Also, struggling with illness and like pushing myself back out into the public and doing pop-ups and stuff like that. I was like, well, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's kind of turned into just like a really organic thing. It's like, even if you're not going to buy something, like please stay and stare at the holds. Like they're doing
Oh,
something for you.
cool.
I can tell. Like people are like, can I just stand here and stare at these?
Oh,
And I'm like, yes, go for it. They're like pieces of art. So
oh,
it's
that's
like I
so cool.
also have heard from people too. They're like, oh, I have your earrings hanging on my wall. They're like artwork. I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, I love that.
oh, good. I'm gonna take a picture of like my bag zip and tag you in it just so I can be like, yes, I love
Yeah.
this. It's so fun. It's so
So
cool.
like I love interacting with people. I hear like a lot of stories and like people who haven't seen my stuff before. They walk up and they're like, "Oh my God." And they start laughing. They're like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "They're supposed to make you smile. They're supposed to make you laugh." They're
Oh, good.
like, "These are so tiny." I'm like, "Yeah, they are."
They
So I
they're the
love those
best.
conversations with people. I love what they see, especially kids too. Kids see things so much differently than us. Like we automatically see a hold, like some kids will walk up and be like, "Oh, that looks like a slice of cheese." And I'm like, "Heck yes."
Yeah, it is. Now it is a slice of cheese.
Yeah, that is the cheese hold. And like I have people buy stuff like that too. They're like, "Oh, that looks like a pineapple. That's my pineapple hold." I'm like,
Oh, that's
"Yes."
really nice. That's so cool.
So I
Oh,
love what people see in them too. So the interactions are so fun.
all right, good.
I've met so many cool people in the climbing world. And I mean, a lot of us climbers too, we're just, we're at the gym because we want to get outside. We want to stay healthy. We're,
Yeah,
working on ourselves. And like, we all have this kind of same mentality of that self-love thing too. Like we're there because we love ourselves.
for
So I
sure.
love those interactions.
That makes a lot of sense. I've never met a climber who didn't want to talk about climbing. Like
Yeah.
you always have that. There's this climbing festival. It's called the International Climbing Festival. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's in Lander, Wyoming. It's during the summer, and they have this thing called the Art Walk. Like one day, it's just like all these vendors come out, and I don't know if you would ever be able to make it out there, but I hope that you would because I'm sure that they would just absolutely love having you on that art walk. So I don't know if you're working on your schedule for the summer or building anything yet, but International Climbing Festival in Lander, Wyoming could be something
You
you
know
look
what?
into.
That's funny that you brought that up. I just talked to a friend who was able to do that last year, and she said she thought that I would have an amazing time there. And I even talked to my dad about it. I'm like, we should bring the trailer out there.
You should. You absolutely should.
So
Oh my God, that would be so
it,
awesome.
it is in my head. It's something that I would love to do. Yes.
I really hope, I mean, I just think they would love you, and I think you would love them. And it's just the whole vibe is really, really cool. So anyway, I please don't look at me as like telling you that you should do it, but I just think that they would love having you there
Oh,
for
totally.
sure.
Yeah. That's definitely in my brain for this year. Thank
That's
you.
so cool. I love to hear that. So let me kind of turn this around a little bit and just see if there's anything that like you wanted to touch on while we were talking and didn't get a chance to. If there's anything you want to plug or promote or even shine a spotlight on something that we should be thinking about or considering. If there's anything like that, like I want to give you a little bit of time to do any of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the major thing like behind tiny holds is honestly my family and
Mm,
my best friend Michelle, and I think that's really important to my business. I can't tell you how many times we've been in my little tiny studio apartment and literally found tiny holds on my bed
that's
because I'm
hilarious.
trying to get everything together, the next night, and I have my family here, I have my friends here. They're such an important part to helping me get everything done, especially sometimes if I'm not feeling well and getting me out there. With Michelle too, she will put everything aside for me, get my stuff out there, make sure I'm there, even if I'm not feeling well. And that's a huge part of Tiny Holds as well, is the people that help me behind it. So I want
Oh,
to
that's a
thank them. And
Michelle sounds like a real one. That's a good friend. That's
oh God,
awesome.
she is, she would do anything for me. She is amazing.
She's a climber too?
Oh yeah, she's a climber. She's an amazing person in the climbing community as well too. She does a ton of stuff, a ton of cleanups and
Oh, cool.
advocacy stuff, trail work. Yeah, she's a great human.
Oh, that's awesome. Major shout out to Michelle. That's good. And anything else that you want to shine a spotlight on?
No, I just want people to see tiny holds as almost like a good luck charm, something they can carry with them, something to help you get you through your day and remind you that, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. You can put the strength back into yourself.
I love that. Brittany, thank you so much for talking to us today. Thank you for I don't know, making me feel good and hopefully making the listeners feel good as well. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Enjoy listening to adventure stories, then you should visit thedihedral.com. You will find stories from other members of the community and read about climbing, life, and the outdoors. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's connect and climb on!
Climb on!